Hey there everyone, it is Jody Sutter of the Sutter Company and it's Just Ask Jody. It's that time when I take a question from an agency around an issue they're having with business development and I'll answer that question in 4 minutes or less. And today the question is, what's the optimal number of people to have in a pitch presentation? And the corresponding question or the follow-up question, which is probably the real question, is should we have people in the room who are in a position to answer subject matter expert questions, even if they don't have a speaking role? Okay, let me go back to the main question. Is there an optimal number of people to have in the room? I don't think there's an optimal number. In general, I would suggest that you have fewer rather than more. I would much rather see an agency pitch team of 3 really strong presenters, even if the client brings along a cast of a dozen or 15. I'd rather see 3 really strong presenters. Doesn't necessarily need to be the most senior people, but 3 strong prepared presenters who are ready to manage the room well than to see you bring in a dozen people just because they've brought a dozen clients. And I think part of the answer to this question really depends on how you're preparing for this pitch and the strategic decisions you're making in order to prepare. So it's going to depend on what the brief is, what you feel is the best solution for this client, having done a lot of work and thoughtful and critical thinking about it. It's going to depend a lot on who is in the room, knowing what personalities are represented, what explicit as well as implicit agendas are going to be represented by the roles of the people in the room. And that's all information that you should have as you prepare for this meeting. So it's likely that if you think about that critically, you already know the answer. Let me address the topic of whether or not you should have people in the room, even if they don't have a clear speaking role, just in case. It's kind of an insurance policy. And I also think that probably no, you shouldn't. Again, if you've got a core presentation team that is prepared well, probably part of that preparation is sitting down with your subject matter expert or experts and making sure that you understand their contribution to this pitch meeting. So if you're prepared and you've anticipated the needs and you've done your work, I don't think you should be afraid of a tough question, because number one, if it's a question that you can't answer easily, I don't think there's anything wrong with stating that to the client. It's not a question, it's a good question. We're not in a position to answer it with the detail or the accuracy that this question deserves. I'd like you to give me 24 hours so I can go back and talk to my subject matter expert and come back to you with the appropriate answer. That should be an acceptable answer to a client, right? Especially if the question is off brief. And you might even bring that back to them. Well, this wasn't what we were asked to prepare, but we can answer this question. You just got to give us a little more time. And of course, if the client is just throwing you curveballs with for the express purpose of throwing you curveballs and trying to get you off your game, well, then maybe they're not really the ideal kind of client you want to work with anyway. So should you have those people in the room as an insurance policy? Probably not. Try your best to be prepared, and then also be prepared to potentially offer a way to come back to them with the right answer for questions that require more detail. All right, well, that's it for Just Ask Jody. If you've got a question that you'd like me to answer on another Just Ask Jody, you can email that to me at jody@thesuttercompany.com. See you next time.